How is everybody doing today? I hope I am live and I know what I am doing. But we should be live. Jets Guru in the house, sitting here in Dallas colors. We're throwing shade on them. I'm trying to get that mojo going. And I'm trying to be as excited as possible. And I'm not going to just dive into the pain right away, right? We don't want to necessarily do that because it was a successful night, wasn't it? And it was still a good time for the people that were there. And I think the best way to really get a feel for the atmosphere is you got to have Liz tell us, right, how it was. Fan of the year, the famous lady herself, hanging out with Matthew McConaughey, doing big things, right, at Met Stadium, right, just all over the place. So I want to know her take. And then we got Mr. International himself, Kevin, who hasn't even been home since the game. That's how crazy it's been for him. So I want to get both of their perspectives. So I'm going to add them onto the stage. And guys, welcome back. It's the first time that we've been together in quite a bit of time. But hey, it's week one. The people wanted us, they requested us, and now we are here. And I don't know how many viewers we're going to get tonight, but we had a lot of Cowboy fans jump into our Carl Lawson post earlier today, and I hope they're watching. So we're going to give them a little treat. And Kev and Liz, tell us a little bit about the environment for the Jets opening day and how you felt and all the ins and outs. I guess Kevin, we'll start with you since you're the veteran.
Well, I don't know. Liz had quite a week too building up to the game, so I want to make sure she gets her just desserts over here, and we'll call it desserts because it was a treat. One thing I have to say, and Liz, I really look forward to your perspective on this, is I really think Woody Johnson and the Jets went all in on this season. I could feel a real change in culture and hope and atmosphere from the parking lot to the stadium, and then even entering the stadium. Um, hopefully this came through on TV. I'm sure it did. But just the idea of making it more like a concert atmosphere where they gave you wristbands going in and every single theme, it changed colors. And they were shutting the lights out on and off throughout the night and greening out the stadium. And they had the Jets chants going nonstop. And the crowd was crazy loud. Anytime the defense was on the field, I mean, you almost feel bad for the Bills because it was obnoxiously loud, and the stadium was lit up green with lights, blinking sometimes green and white. And the Jets created a real home field advantage. And I will say, and I know we'll talk about the Aaron Rodgers injury a little later. That might have been the only time the wind was sucked out of the sails a little bit. But then the defense was so good that I would say it was maybe a quarter, maybe, and I mean from halfway through the first through halfway through the second, where the wind was out of the sails a little bit, but the energy picked right back up. And I just felt like the Jets really went all in on this Aaron Rodgers changing the culture and gave the fans everything they needed to go out there and make MetLife really feel like Jet Life Stadium, like Aaron Rodgers said at training camp. So, Liz, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on the experience. You might have to flip your mic on because I think Dan's flipped us off. There you go.
I'm here.
But love to hear about your experience and how you thought the atmosphere was for week one.
Absolutely. The rains put a little damper in the beginning in the parking lot, but the rains did not really come into the stadium. I think yes, Woody and crew really upped the game with the wristbands. Just a month or so before game one, I was at the Taylor Swift concert and she had the exact same type of wristbands and the exact same lighting. And I think that because Aaron is such a huge Taylor Swift fan, he might have put the bug in Woody's ear and said, listen, we got to go big. And they did. I say even the Bills and the Bills fans were like, wow, this is some way to open the season. It was incredible. Everybody was on their feet. Everybody, every uniform, every jersey, they were on their feet. The intros, the flag, then you got Brees Hall running in with the flag. You got Garrett Wilson running in with the flag. It's September 11th. Everybody is singing the national anthem from day one, from minute one, when that building filled up everything was electric, and yeah, I praise God that, and I'm not getting right into Aaron, but I praise God that they weren't up to the speed of what the doctors and Aaron were up to, because everybody's looking at their phone, but they're watching the game, and they're looking at their phone saying, oh my gosh, what's happening with him? So we didn't know the extent of the injury and how bad it was until the next day, thank goodness. So yes, it was a little lull, and it was short lived because everybody was electric, and then Whitehead, and oh my gosh, our defense, like you said, out of control. But yeah, I just think the whole September 11th brought people down to, okay, yeah, when you look at it, it's just a football game. It's September 11th. What happened 22 years ago? And it kind of was just like, we're all in this together. And for a little while there, I didn't think that there were Hatfields and McCoys in that stadium. I felt that there were 80,000 or whatever fans of football. And it was electric, and it was amazing. And the videos, I can't watch it enough, like just with the beginning, the intro, and the green lights, and the lights coming down, and all the wristbands, and it was phenomenal. I've never seen it. I was so impressed by what the Jets did for that game one. I really was. It was awesome.
And just to tag onto it, it wasn't just the fans that were excited and brought the
Oh,
energy. I saw John Abraham was over with Claudio's tailgate. Wayne Corbett and Lavernius Coles were just about everywhere, like they always are.
yep.
Klecko was out. A couple people pulled me aside and said that they got to hang out with Klecko a little bit before the game. I mean, I don't have to talk about Marty Lyons because he's at every Jets thing all the time, and his voice is always heard. I mean, and Mangold, actually past entering the stadium, was obviously out his usual self. Just so much energy. When you talked about the opening, Liz, the Method Man opening that they had
Oh,
with him in the center while they were doing the intros of the players, and they had videos of him playing on the scoreboard because he was there with Eric Allen. And then obviously they transported him down, and you got to follow him walking out the tunnel and then doing the intro of the players and trying really hard not to get into the game. But man, the kickoff, hearing Fireman Ed, Scott Mulry, Jetman, Mikey Hulkhands Gregory doing the Jets chants for the first time to start the season
yep.
was also just, and I think they did 3 of them in a row before the players came out of the tunnel. And the other good thing that they did because of the 9/11 celebration that you talked about was they had a signal where they shot off fireworks before the game. I think
Yeah.
it was at like 6:45 or was it 7:15? I can't remember what time it was.
Yeah.
Mike Thomas is listening right now, like correcting me as he always does. But there was a set time where they shut off the fireworks to let everyone know to wrap up their tailgates and come in. And that way the literally stadium would be lit up, the red, white, and blue colors before any of the events took place, right? Like as the people were coming out bringing the flag to kick off the festivities, the
Right.
goal was to fill the stadium and have the whole stadium red, white, and blue on TV. And they coordinated it as well. I mean, I know there was a lot of messages. I referenced Mike Thomas, but he sent out the references on 3 or 4 forums. And I'm sure lots of other people did it on the various social media platforms.
Right.
And the stadium was filled with people about an hour, I would say a good hour before the game.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, and that really helped set the atmosphere for all the events that you said as they sang the national anthem, as they brought out the flag, as they called out the players. You were really locked into a mindset of getting ready for week 1 football, right? They really like staged it and organized it in a way to show they were ready for Monday Night Football and all the prime times that were scheduled for. And I think that's something the Jets have to prove, right? The Jets are usually the 1 o'clock game, right? You can almost count on it. It's been a little while since we were on Monday night, Sunday Night Football like we were. You know, we've had a couple flashes here and there, but almost back to the Revis days, right? Like you remember when
Right.
you had kicked off the season week 1 with Dallas. That was
Exactly.
an epic Rex Ryan game. That was
Oh.
like large. Oh, that was an amazing atmosphere.
Right.
Thinking back to that game, that was amazing too. But I'm hoping and I know we'll transition to the Zach Wilson situation pretty soon. But the Jets fans, I would ask that you really try to keep that same level of atmosphere. I think the Jets are going to have an opportunity to prove themselves even in the face of adversity. And it's one part team, another part coaches, and another part, honestly, our fan base showing up and representing our team well.
Correct. Right. Yeah, I just think that the fans do. They bring a lot to the table when it comes to atmosphere and energy and excitement. And you know, yes. And again, we're going to talk about it, but not getting into Aaron so much. And yeah, it was exciting and it was awesome and the potential and what could be. But I'm not a person to pin a season on one player. And look at our team. Look what we are capable of. Yes, I keep telling everybody that's coming at me with negative, we proved that we can do it without him. And yeah, if he's going to have a mic on, like Salah said yesterday in his press conference, that we're going to be a little short on headphones, but if Aaron wants a headphone, he can get a headphone. And if he's on the sideline and he's calling some plays, okay, that's good. You know, the coaching staff welcomes his opinion and what he has to say. But you know what? I'm confident and I'm excited. And Zach is going to be our boy. And I'm just thinking that, you know, don't think negative. Think about the positive. And I'm just real excited for Dallas this weekend. And I think they got all their runs out last weekend with that other team. And I think we're going to get him. I think we're going to get him. And I'm really excited.
Guru,
Absolutely.
how was the game on TV? Like, how did it come
Yeah.
through on the television?
Oh man, I felt like I was watching a movie. You know, it was amazing. I've never seen our team featured like that before. We've played primetime games, but like you guys alluded to, like with all of the theatrics inside of the stadium and the lights were like pulsating and then they turned the lights off and then everyone had their camera lights out and then you see the spotlight come on Aaron Rodgers and he just takes off and you're just like, dude, what am I watching right now? This is going to be crazy. And you know, just like that, it was over. And you know, I was nervous before the game. Not saying like I knew something was going to happen. I knew that the Jets were going to show up, and but at the same time, I mean, it's when you look at it, it just was like I was more nervous because I wanted everything to work. I didn't think he was gonna be gone for the year in the first four plays. And after that, you saw the Jets kind of take a step back as far as the energy, and I think fans did too. And you know, I always run the game cast at the same time, so we're talking to other fans, and you could just see, oh, it's the Jets. I knew this was going to happen, and so the vibe was like really, really low at that time. You know, after those four plays, and again, now that we're here, I guess we could just start diving into it. I mean, it it, it just blew me away,
Yeah.
and I felt really bad for the defense. That was one of the first things after I thought about Aaron Rodgers because, they deserve to have an explosive offense. They spent a lot of time and we spoke about it here on Jets Guru about what they brought here. Like everyone was brought here for a specific reason. We have weapons at tight end, running back, wide receiver. We see how explosive Brees Hall is right out the gate. We go ahead and bring Dalvin Cook in just on the back end. And almost immediately when Zach Wilson took over, it felt like, oh man, here we go again. It's like the offense looks sluggish. The ball placement isn't where it necessarily needs to be. But the one thing that I saw that never changed, the same as last year, is the defense just never stopped moving, and
No.
it gave Zach an opportunity. And you know what? I gotta say it. And we have to be honest. We can't just criticize him all the time and not say good things. And I think we do a fair job on this show at doing that. And he did make a couple of really good first down changing over plays. He changed he moved the chains. And then that one throw when he was falling down and to extend the drive on that scoring drive, you know, those are things I've seen from Wilson. I've seen Wilson have a drive here, a drive there. I just want to see consistency from him because we're gonna need it. This is a tough 6-7 game stretch, and the thing I ask you, Kevin, do you think that he's learned enough over the summer to really change what he brought to the table last year, where the team didn't believe in him, and we're walking around with Mike White's our quarterback shirts?
Well, I mean, quarterback's a fickle thing with Jets fans, as we all know. We've lived it for decades, all of us. But in my opinion, when the Jets last year had AVT, Brees Hall, and Garrett Wilson healthy, I mean, Zach Wilson was 5-1, man. Like, we were winning football games, and we were beating the Bills then.
Right.
And we beat the Bills without AVT and Brees Hall last year. This Jets team has more talent than last year's team. And I would say that on both sides of the ball, we have more talent. Our wide receivers are deeper. I think our O-line is a little deeper. I mean, we got Tippmann sitting on the bench, right? He can start. Tackle, reared its ugly head, but in a post I posted earlier, Dwayne Brown didn't really practice, right? He didn't really participate. Becton's still making the adjustment to right tackle. We gave up 2 sacks in the first quarter and 1 sack for the rest of the game, which is what Robert Saleh highlighted. Is the line needs time to gel, guys. Hackett said there was going to be some hiccups in the offense. You saw it when Rodgers was in. I mean, Rodgers missed some plays. He was on the field, 3 of them. He missed a wide open Garrett Wilson that got him hurt on a missed cut block. I mean, Garrett Wilson was wide open, and somehow Rodgers just didn't anticipate it, wasn't ready for it, but he was running wide open and staring him down and should have got the ball out. And we wouldn't be talking about Aaron Rodgers out, but here we are. And I think if Zach Wilson, I think he has learned some things. His footwork is much better. He does got to stop some of the back pedal stuff. He's still going to make some of those mistakes, like you said, the falling down throw. But he also made those throws. I mean, guys, he was 14 for 21. He only had 7 incomplete passes, right? 5 for 5 on passes 5 yards or less, which was one of the big complaints last year. I know that Garrett Wilson, wide receiver screen, didn't go anywhere, but he hit him in the numbers. The cornerback tackled him. And last year, those were short hop throws, right? And we saw improvement. The swing pass to Dalvin Cook out in the flat. Again, those were ones that were in the dirt last year. But to just do the little things better with a better team, Lazard is much better than what we had like last year. Hardman right now isn't very involved, is going to come back. And the other thing I want to really, really point out is that this 3 tight end set, doing some of their protection schemes and some of those run blocking, dude, Brees Hall can play. I think people forget, like, Garrett Wilson and Brees Hall can win some games. This isn't – everyone just talks about quarterbacks so much. How good is AVT? How good is Becton run blocking? You can say he needs to get better pass blocking, but his run blocking is top 3 tackles in the NFL. It's elite, elite, elite run blocking, guys. Brees Hall's not running 70 yards by himself.
No.
There's AVT leading, running behind Becton, where no one even sees AVT coming because there's a 370-pound man sitting there. I guess he's down to 355 now. He's still a monster, taking on 2 guys at a time in the run game, right? I mean, these little seams aren't coming out of nowhere, guys. And they know Zach Wilson's at quarterback and coming up, and Brees Hall's still averaging 13 yards a carry.
Yeah.
And this whole thing, and we'll get into the Dallas matchup later, but the Bills' defense isn't some hot trash.
No.
Sean McDermott didn't forget how to coach defense overnight. Sean McDermott's not a dummy who's not overplaying the run, and we are still running it down their throat when they know we're going to run. So the idea that you switch quarterbacks and it goes away, we didn't have – we had Zach Wilson last game, and we ran it all game.
Right.
And that's the one thing when you look at these future matchups is it's like, well, we have a weakness that's quarterback. Can they stop what we do well?
Right.
That would be my question for you. If we're going to be an elite running game with 2, maybe 3 elite running backs when Izzy gets back, and we got our corners, our safeties, our defensive line, and Mosley and Quincy playing out of their mind at linebacker, Mosley could have had a pick.
Yep.
Can you stop what we do well should be the question, because the Buffalo Bills can't.
Obviously. Right.
Yeah, absolutely, Liz. And speaking of Brees Hall, Liz, like, what was your feeling and like how did you think Brees looked like watching at game, like in game? Because on TV, it honestly didn't look like he missed a beat at all.
He absolutely did not. You would never know that that kid missed all of the season as much as he did last year. He was fast. He was accurate. You kind of like, after everything happened with Aaron, you kind of like, just, please be careful, just watching him go. And he was a phenomenon. Anywhere he had to go, he had to go. He had to cut through. He was just amazing. And yeah, I just absolutely believe he 100% healed. And let's hope it. I don't want to say it. He just, yeah, so scary. The injuries, and now the whole league talking about switching out to real grass again, because everybody, that's another thing we got to talk about. But yeah, Brees looked. He did not miss a beat. He absolutely did not miss a beat. He was strong. He was fast, and he was accurate as he always was.
Absolutely. And speaking of Becton that Kevin mentioned, I mean, if you go back and you look at the tape, we only highlight his bad, right? Because that's how we
Right.
always look at everything. But on that big run, there was a block, and then he also pancaked like two guys at one time on the right side as well. So we got to highlight the good plays too.
Sure.
As Kevin highlighted, I mean, you look at the team. This is the first time they've all played together, and so looking at that, and here's another thing that's not pointed out, and we have to look at this to have a fair judgment of Zach Wilson. He didn't take any reps with the first team this week, and against the Bills, and so this guy really was thrown in there, and he wasn't supposed to play for 2 years technically. And so yeah, you're not. There's things that you're going to see from him in the heat of the moment that look very similar, to last year. But as Kevin, talked about the footwork, I think he did look a little bit more confident, especially as the game went on and settled in. There was a couple moments there where I was like, but then I started to like kind of go, okay, Zach, here we go. And my attention started to go to Nathaniel Hackett more so than Zach Wilson, because I didn't like what Nathaniel Hackett was doing, and I understand why they were doing it. They were protecting the game, trying to run the football, keep things safe for Zach, not have him go too far out of his element. But they got very lucky there, that Gibson ran that ball back and didn't allow Allen to get another touch at that football. Not because he was having a great game, because the Jets were absolutely destroying him, but it's just the talent and the ability that he does have to make those big plays. And in overtime, where if you don't score there, just a field goal wins it, with the Bills coming back. But I want to see the Jets in this matchup coming up here against the Cowboys. I want to see them actually test a little bit here. If Zach Wilson can't throw the ball down the field to guys like Garrett Wilson and Lazard and Miko Hardman and your tight ends, backs, etc., whoever's down the field, then why is he your backup quarterback? Get Tim Boyle in here, let him throw the ball a little bit if that's how you feel. Zach is more than capable of throwing the ball down the field. It's a passing league. You have to be able to test on the corners, because if not, you saw what happened to Zach last year. Everyone is healthy now. There's no excuses. He's in his third year. While he's still learning, he's still a professional, and he's in a profession where his job can get taken very easily. So for me, make it easy for Zach. Don't do run, pass every series thinking, well, we're up by 3 and the defense can manage it. You got to let this kid kind of eat a little bit. We want to build his confidence, right? We don't
Yeah.
want Zach Wilson constantly going out there thinking, man, if I just don't make a mistake here, maybe we can win the football game. That's not why you have a backup quarterback. You have a backup quarterback to come in and run the offense that you have. And I don't think the offense that you had run, pass, run, pass, run, pass. So now
Right.
that Zach has a week under his belt, well, almost a week under his belt, and he has a chance to be under the offense, to maybe put some plays in the forefront that feel more comfortable for him as opposed to Aaron. I want to see them test a little bit, because you remember it is an NFL here that Garrett Wilson is a dynamic receiver and it's a passing league, and these refs love to throw those flags around. And even putting the ball in a position where only Garrett can get it or make a sideline catch, I think we need to try some things with this with Zach Wilson. He has the arm talent. And the thing with Zach, the other thing, and I think you guys will both agree on this, I don't know who's instructing him or not, but when you are in danger, I want to see Zach Wilson start to step up more in the pocket and not run out and roll out so deep. He doesn't roll out like other quarterbacks do. He really goes deep into his steps and like hooks out. And while he's doing this, the blockers can only block so long, which we have to factor that in when we're judging the offensive line. The receivers are coming off their routes and they're trying to find an open spot for Wilson to throw to. It makes it easy for the defense to key in on the quarterback's eyes, and you're just basically following from there. I think Zach, if he's going to roll out, move up the field. Whoever's telling him that, like, hey, if you have to roll out and your protection breaks down, roll out and move up the field. Getting 5 yards, on a rollout and picking it up, that makes it 2nd and 5 for you. It makes it more manageable. It makes it easier for me as a play caller. It makes it easier for you as a quarterback because now the playbook can open up and I can call many things: run, screens, play action. It's unlimited. But when you're putting this kid in positions, run, pass, and you don't get those breakout runs from Brees Hall and company, then you're looking at 3rd and 8. You're looking at, oh, here's a penalty, 3rd and 12, and you're on your 20. And now this is where you're pressing a kid to try to make a play where you don't really have to do that. Incorporate the screens. You have the backs to do it, and be creative with your, to me, very athletic quarterback and make the game easier for him, Liz.
Yeah. Zach needs the confidence. If we got to build his confidence up. If he comes out and shows confidence in his first couple plays, the teams are going to look at him different, and he's going to look at himself different. He's going to say, wow, I can really do this. I think, like you said, he wasn't expecting to play for 2 years. He was sitting there going, oh boy, I'm just going to be suiting up and sitting here on the bench, just watching Aaron go. And all of a sudden, bam, like I think he was in shock as much as all of us. But if he comes out there, like you said, instead of backing up, losing us yards, and he's going to start moving forward and doing like a Joe Burrows type of play or a CJ Stroud type of play where he's going to just start running and scoring his own touchdowns, let him go for a little bit and see what he does, see what he has in his back pocket. And if he, like I said, if he builds a little confidence for himself, the other teams are going to look at him different.
Absolutely. And Kevin, there's a clip online that I saw today that I was going to try to post on the page where after the touchdown to Wilson, you could see Lazard come up to Zach and he's like, dude, that's it right there. Like we're not overcomplicating it, man. You just put it up, put a nice catchable ball up. And dude, I heard everyone, oh, the ball, it would have been picked. Dude, that was a good football. And to me, it could have been a PI. They could have called that, which changes the direction of Wilson's, body. And you saw Wilson say, man, you're out there, you're playing ball. You saw the encouragement. Yeah, Kevin, you played sports before, when guys struggle, how encouraging can it be when your teammates are really lifting you up and are on your side?
Well, and football's obviously a game where your teammates can really make you look better. And that goes across the board. Offensive line, receivers, quarterbacks, running backs, they can make your job easier. And I think there's a couple things, and that's what Hackett will design a game plan around what he does well, right? I mean, they had to shift gears mid-football. You already referenced the fact that the game plan was designed for Rodgers. He didn't work with the installs this week. And this week you can put things around him that make his job easier, that gets him hot when he's cold. And, when he is hot, I mean, the other way, get him hot when he's cold. But when he's hot, like get him into a rhythm. And, last week, Garrett Wilson was only targeted 5 times. He caught all 5 of them. But he's a guy that needs to get double-digit, target. So how do you do some things? And as we look, not at this week, but kind of Zach Wilson moving forward, you look at the Dallas game where they know it's going to be a lot of cover 2 defense, right? Dan Quinn comes from Seattle. Robert Saleh coached under him in Seattle, knows what Dan Quinn does. knows the types of concepts. And Paul Hackett's been in the league a long, long time. And he's going to have to establish himself, right? He just had a poor situation in Denver and come in and work with Salah and put together a game plan that supports Zach Wilson and their knowledge of the systems. And Zach Wilson, I think he's working hard. I've seen a very diligence in getting better at the little nuances. We talked about footwork. He's still going to have some bad habits. But how do you do some things that works to what he's doing well right now and not put him into situations where, like you said, he's backpedaling, he's scrambling, he's doing some of those things that he's not good at. So I look at them to be maybe a little more conservative, take very calculated shots, and make his reads very quick. They need him to process information fast. And there was a good video, like you had referenced, not only of his teammates, but of, I think it was Orlovsky who was talking about have him do read one, read two, legs, or throw it out, right? If the linebacker comes up and the safety steps back, you're reading here, run, throw it out of bounds, right? And keep those concepts very easy. And that lets him get out of bad situations. Even if he does throw away, his mind is in a rhythm of how he's supposed to process information and get into things. And I think those are the things where the coaches, the schemes, and his teammates will help him get better.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely, Kevin, 100%. And for everything that they talk about Zach Wilson, Dak Prescott has struggled too. And even though they laid that 40 burger on the Giants, it's not like Dak Prescott was a huge contributor to any of that. It's going to be a very similar game, I think. You're looking at two elite defenses going against each other. The Cowboys bring Gilmore in to help Diggs out on the other side, which I think was really important for them. Holes at safety, but I mean, they have talent. We know Micah, Lawrence, all these guys, they have an ascending end as well. This is going to be a low scoring who makes the mistake. And we know that Dak Prescott can throw him some interceptions just along everybody else that we see. We know that for a fact. And we saw the Jets really, really press. And I don't want to move on to scores and predictions without talking about this Jets defense. I mean, I've seen some really good Jet defenses in my days, and basically, I think most of us have. I mean, because we haven't been an offensive team, so we've always had that moniker, like as a tough defensive team, pretty much my whole life. So I've seen some pretty good Jet defenses over time. Parcells came through; he had some good defenses, good teams. Even that time where we had Herm Edwards and I always enjoyed that the Jets were more of a defensive team. It's just you just wanted that quarterback, but even Rex said it himself. If this continues, this could even push what he and Revis and all of them were able to do. Now they went to AFC championship games. So overall, it's going to be tough to do that unless they match up. But just talking about the defense alone, there is a lot of talent on this team, especially on that defensive front. I mean, look what we were able to do to Josh Allen. Now, I thought it was a little disrespectful, the words coming from Josh Allen that, they didn't really do anything. I sucked. Well, you sucked because you played against the Jets defense. That's why you sucked. Because I guarantee you, Josh Allen is about to go on a little mini run here of 3, 4, 5 games where he puts up super numbers like he normally does, except for when he plays the Jets. And that is exactly what Kevin said earlier in the program. We have his number, and it's just period. And Jermaine Johnson, I don't know what it is, but it's something that when he plays against Allen, he just annoys the hell out of him.
Yeah.
And another player that we spoke about on Jets Guru over the summer that we talked about being an underrated player that didn't get any headlines, or two players. One was Al Woods, and the other one was Quentin Jefferson. And we were talking about how the hell did the Jets pull Quentin Jefferson, who's getting better each year, for just nothing? Like, oh yeah, I'm just going to join you guys. And what does he do? He comes out and gives you 2 sacks in his first game as a Jet, and I think like 3 tackles for loss. And I mean, and everything that we did yesterday was with a quarterback that had no practice snaps with the first team guys. Was a guy who struggled last year, still a young player trying to figure out his way, with a running back who tore his ACL and just came back, with an offensive line that has only one game under their belt, and they were playing it as that game was going on, and they still were able to do that. Now, I expect as time goes on for the line to get better. I expect Wilson to get better. If this is it for him, you know, and I hope that he plays well enough to earn the respect of the defense, that they will go out there and fight for him. Because I know they're going to fight anyways, right? But you saw the frustration of the team last year, which as a fan was hard to swallow. Because you're not having fun. Obviously, you're looking at the players; they're not having fun. And I just saw such a great team. And shout out to Jordan Whitehead, who didn't get a lot of love last year from Jet fans, and it's good for him to show out like that. He was brought here to make plays just like that, and he did so, and so much so that I think Josh Allen thought that he actually played for the Buffalo Bills. And honestly, the Jets defense was so good, Kevin, that they made Josh Allen look like Zach Wilson normally does, because and picture this. Carl Lawson is coming back to play against the Cowboys. So how do you feel, Kevin, about the defensive rotation so far that Salah's been incorporating on the line, and now with Carl Lawson coming back?
Well, I think the Jets defense wears you out. You almost need to score early on the Jets defense before the defensive line wears the offensive line out, right? So the Jets, we know, are coming in waves and waves and waves and waves and waves and waves of talent, right? And we got Jefferson, like you said. He doesn't even start, right? You got Quinnen Williams and Solomon Thomas and Jefferson and Woods, and they move Clemens and Franklin Myers inside. These guys are just clubbing and ripping the centers and the guards. And then we're bringing Jermaine Johnson, Franklin Myers started, Clemens, Huff, McDonald, waves at their tackles. Their tackles aren't taking a break and coming off the field. Those two tackles stay in the whole game. And they got to get ripped and swim moved. And Franklin Myers is a power player. We're literally throwing different pitches at them with every personnel grouping that we bring on the field. Clemens is nothing like McDonald, who's nothing like Huff, who's nothing like Lawson. And those two tackles got to battle that all game. And if you don't have your starting, say you're a week where one of your tackles is out, so your number 3 or number 4 tackle is going against what I just said. And that's why I said by the third and fourth quarter, where you see Clemens just brutalizing people in the backfield and McDonald getting in. And I agree with what you said on Jermaine Johnson, but this is also a defensive line where, I mean, Quinnen had a good game. His stat line doesn't look like it, but Quinnen had a great game. And it's like, there's no one you can double team. And even you brought up Jefferson had 5.5 sacks last year in Seattle's defense. So Salah could look at his game tape, and I'm sure him and Joe looked at the game tape and said, oh, Seattle has a lot of the same concepts, just like Dallas has a lot of the same concepts. And I had to joke about it a little bit because McCarthy's talking up Chuma Edoga, who started last week and will be starting this week, the Jets' former tackle from USC, who was a disaster. And in my head, I'm thinking, how do you think – I don't care what you've seen on game tape, Mike McCarthy. I don't care how well he did against Thibodeau, who's never done anything for the Giants. I don't care how he looked in that. Did you watch our game tape? Right? I mean, are you saying the Bills or not? Just like you said, I agree. Josh Allen is better than Dak Prescott, people. He is better. Josh Allen is up for MVP every single year. Yes, he's a turnover machine. Who led the league in interceptions last year, guys? Dak Prescott.
Exactly.
How many games did Dak Prescott play? 12. He led the NFL in interception, only played 12 out of 17 games. So Diggs is better than Lamb. Yes, Pollard is better than any running back. I'll give you that. Pollard, infinitely better than any running back on the Bills. Sign me up, yes. He's going to have to run against Quincy, who had 10 tackles. He's going to have to run against C.J. Mosley, Whitehead. And that defensive line, I already said, Woods, Jefferson, Solomon Thomas, and Quinnen in the middle. And you know that. I don't have to go through the defensive ends again.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the waves of talent that the Jets bring at an offense, people are like, are we going to score on Dallas? And I had to look at them and say, is Dallas going to score against us?
Yep,
You know,
absolutely. 100%. When you look at this team, the way that they're put together, it's just really unbelievable. Just what I'm seeing. They have an opportunity, this defensive line, to be the most diverse defensive line of all time, when it's said and done. I mean, like Kevin said, it's very hard pressed to go around the league and look around and even look at other teams. If they could just have a competent offense, give me a top 15 offense. Don't be the dregs of the NFL where you're putting your defense in bad spots where no matter how good they are, if you keep putting them in bad positions, they're going to bend a little too much. But if you could just be competent, every player is different from the other, but they all work well and they all get a chance to eat and they all know that. So they're all motivated to go out there and really go after it. And the one thing that I love about Saleh is he loves to feed the hot hands, especially like the running back position. But even when you play in rotational positions where there's a constant rotation, if you're hitting, coach is going to keep sending you back out there because, hey, it's your game, and that's something that I criticize Adam Gase on. I forgot which game it was. Maybe it was against the Lions when Ty Johnson and man, I can't remember the other running back we had at the time. They just went off for like
Was
over
it
200
Bam?
yards.
Was Bam?
Uh,
Was it Bam?
no, I don't think it was Bam Knight. This was with Gase. Was it? No, it's I forgot who it was, but they went off. And then the next week they didn't even start. And it's like I don't you don't even get touches. That's not the type of thing that Salah's running out here. Everyone is still bought in. Everyone is still ready to go. Liz, seeing like looking at everything for the way it is, we've been Jet fans our whole lives. And, it's always been a tough sled for the most part, with minor breeze and minor just, we could sit back. Um, what are your expectations for the rest of the year? Like if you were to give us like a win total for the rest of the year, what would you, as the team currently sits, no more injuries? Let's say the Jets stay healthy pretty much for the rest of the way out. What would you give our win total?
first of all, Kevin's talking all about the waves of talent, waves of talent. Then you get that riptide that comes in, right? You know what that riptide's called? Xavier Gibson, Jason Brownlee. Okay. Now, I got to tell you, I'm the type of person that watches The Price is Right and somebody wins a car, they're bawling their eyes out, right? Last week, I watched Hard Knocks and I saw those two young guys get told that they made this team. And I was bawling like a baby. I was so happy. And I was like, look at that. These kids are going to be our secret weapon. And what happened this game? Yeah, we're distraught about Aaron. Okay. We just proved we can win without him. Okay. Zach, I don't know. I just got this feeling. I just got this feeling that this kid is going to be our secret weapon along with all these young guys. And I am so confident. It is not one guy that makes a team. It's how many guys make a team. Okay. And the Jets have the tools. The Jets have a dynamic group of guys in every position that are going to turn things around. And the O line, I'm confident in them. Our defense, we don't even need confidence in them. They prove themselves. This cat is driving me crazy. And yeah, I just feel that every single position, I, we're not losing any more than we're winning at least 10 games. I'm going to go even more than that. I'm going to go 12. And I just feel that every team is going to say this team just had their heart ripped out. This team just had their Broadway Joe quarterback reincarnated and he just went down for the count. And nobody is going to think that we can do it. And nobody's going to try harder to take us down, and nobody's going to try harder than the Jets to get the W. And I am just I'm not ever going to be the glass is half full type of person. Glass is half empty. I'm sorry. Glass is half empty. It's always half full. And I just think they're not going to know what happened when we show up to town.
Well, I
Dallas.
definitely agree with that, Liz. You're getting me pumped up a little bit here because, I'm not gonna lie, there was a piece of me earlier today that was thinking like, what if, right? Like, what if Zach just, with all the talent around him, they just get on a little roll and he could just start to click and just build it because we know that his talent, we know what he's capable physically with the football. And so, I'm gonna go with you, Liz, and your enthusiasm, but I'm gonna tailor it back a little bit, and I'm gonna say that we're gonna be fighting around the 8-9 win mark.
Mm,
With Aaron gone, I think with Aaron gone, it significantly changes what you're able to do, especially in games where you might have to shoot it out a little bit, and you may not have that, even if your defense is playing well. Um, for me personally, this reminds me of when Testaverde went down, where the Jets had a very strong team, but you lose your quarterback. The only thing I really hope for the Jets is that they don't wait too long if they need to make a switch.
to
Like,
Boyle. Yep.
if Zach is struggling, don't just kind of ride it out like, oh, okay, like the whole Rick Meyer thing where like you just waited too long with him before you got Ray Lucas in there type of scenario. Like just if you see it's not going well, just don't keep going. Oh, but I see it in practice and I see it. We did this last year. So I think if you're gonna ride with Zach, ride with Zach a couple games. But if it doesn't start to go well for him and he's really, really struggling, and even if you're winning, but it's like we're lucky that we got away with that one there. I would urge the Jets to bring in a veteran, if they could at some point, if there's someone out there that could be had. You don't want to waste 2 years of Garrett Wilson, 2 years of Gardner, 2 years of the combination of Reed and Gardner together because, as a Jet fan, I always love seeing those two corners, Cromartie, Revis, and now we're seeing Reed and we're seeing Sauce together. I don't want to waste their years together. The last of what Mosley has, this great
Right.
defensive rotation. I don't want to waste all this. Brees Hall, all of it. Just sign Cook. I want to use them. The tight ends. I mean, we could go on and on and on. Like Kevin said, Garrett needs to have double digits. We need to see Justin Jefferson type of attempts towards Garrett Wilson's way.
Yep.
So that's the one thing, Kevin, I would say is before I ask for your prediction on win total as a team we see it fit is, don't get too complacent where it's like, we're going to let the defense ride this out. Get a veteran if you can.
And it's not Kaepernick and it's not Brady. Just saying. Go ahead, Kevin. We lose him. Kevin, come back to us.
Uh-oh.
I think
I
he's
think,
frozen. I think
yeah, I
he's
have
in
to,
shock.
well, we'll,
He's been
we'll get,
he's been
we'll,
frozen since I said 10.
okay, so we'll get Kevin back. He'll probably restart and we'll get him back. But until then, we'll kind of remove him there. But yeah, before Kevin gets back, let me talk about one thing too, guys, because I always forget to do this because I'm just so invested in talking about the Jets. But we do have to do a little bit of self-promotion here, right? Please give us a share. Please give us a like. It's the only way that we could really spread. I think we have really good fan content that's fan-driven, not drama-driven. We have an audio podcast that we got up and going again. Eventually, you'll hear all our voices on there. Right now, it's just me. But if you go on Spotify, you type in Jets Guru. You go on Apple Podcasts, you type in Jets Guru. You'll find our podcast there. We have a brand new episode talking about going a little bit more in depth on Wilson and Rodgers, and it's just been a good reception to the platform, and we just want to keep it going. And our YouTube fans out there, thank you for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Again, we're building that page. It's all new to us. So the more shares, the more likes, the more comments, the better. And our Facebook faithful, as always, you guys show up. I think we had over 800 shares and likes on our latest post about Carl Lawson. This is how I know we're doing something right, Liz. We now have opposing fans coming on our Jets Guru page to talk
Checking this
crap.
out.
Because they're getting wind of the posts and the shares. So you guys are doing the right thing by sharing the page. And so we really appreciate the support. And we welcome you as long as you're respectful, because I will boot you really quick if you're not. But as long as you're respectful, we love opposing fans to come on so that I could show you how inferior your knowledge base is, not only about the Jets, but the NFL and your team when you try to challenge us on the NFL. Now, again, everyone is so focused in on Zach Wilson. And so, Kev, now that we got you back, the team has changed a bit now. And so I think the expectations, or not, Liz doesn't think they'll change at all. But Kev, what do you think? Like, do you think that we're going to stay put with our win totals, or you think we do take a little bit of a hit now that Zach's running the show?
No, I mean, with Aaron Rodgers, I would have said something like 12-5, right? I think you look at the defense that we just watched, and if you could combine that with some offense, getting you a good 28 to 32 points a game with that D, I mean, we're going to be tough to beat. Like, I don't care if it's Mahomes, Burrow, they're going to have a hard time scoring, and Aaron Rodgers makes it easy to score. So, I mean, those two things is a recipe for Super Bowl. And I think it was realistic for us to think that. Now, and Liz hit the nail on the head. I mean, we're a meat grinder team on both sides of the ball, man. It's going to be tough to score on us, and you're going to have to work for every yard, and you're going to have to not make mistakes, and we're going to attack for 4 quarters. The Jets team is going to be hard to score on all season long. And the Jets' run game and the way we're going to lean on you all game with a brutal offensive line is our offense, the goal is to wear you out by the second half, which frees some things up and makes you cheat up on your secondary to help with the run defense. And then we're going to find that Lazard got hot in the second half, and it was easier for Wilson to find the windows because there was more windows to throw through and bigger windows for our wide receivers to run into, because we're going to make you stop Cook and Hall. And if you think that's easy, look at the Vikings offense tonight without Cook. Look at the Vikings offense last week without Cook, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, these are two elite running backs, right? These are
Yep.
two top 10 NFL running backs that we're going to take and say 355 pounds of Becton, and we're going to have AVT and McGovern running and leading. And we're going to lean on you. And there's going to be a lot of games. I agree. They're going to be ugly. 13 to 10 games, 17 to 10 games, 21 to 17 games. That's going to be the style. And the Jets are going to make it tough to beat. And I would no longer say 12 wins, right? Because our room for error is less. And that's where I agree with Dan's point earlier, man. I feel bad for the defense because you want to be able to have a blown coverage once or twice in a game and not have it be the end of the world, right? And that's one of the things with Rodgers when he's putting points on the board. You can have a blown coverage because he's going to come back and get another touchdown for you. So who cares, right? And I think that's one of the things when you talk about team culture and team maturity that has to be different this year from last year, right? We can't be screaming on the sidelines. We can't be kicking water bottles. We can't be venting our frustrations to the media. Vent them in the locker room. And that's some of the things that hopefully Lazard coming on board and our younger players being in year 2 instead of year 1, because we had 4 essentially high rookies that were carrying a big part of the team last year. And hopefully even Zach Wilson in year 3 doesn't make some of the mistakes he did in front of the microphone, right? That obviously seeped into the team and the culture. And you got to hope the team is that next year up last year, right? We only missed the playoffs by 2 games last year, and we didn't have Aaron Rodgers. We didn't have Lazard. We didn't have McDonald. I mean, go down the list, right? Quincy is establishing himself. Quinnen establishing himself. Now Sauce is established, right? And these are some of the things where I think we saw Garrett Wilson take some leadership today in some of the interviews. And we've seen Sauce Gardner talking about his support for Aaron Rodgers, but also that the team has to keep moving forward. And I know Liz was going to talk about the grass and all that stuff earlier, but Quentin Williams says, I don't care if I have to play on concrete. My job is to hit the quarterback. I don't pick the
Yep.
field. I hit the quarterback. That's my job. I play football. I focus on playing football. And if the Jets keep that, I look for the Jets to go 10 wins. They might be able to sneak in 11 if they get it together. And just be a tough out every week. I still think this is a wild card team, barring anything else, right? We got to stay with this current. Now, one other point I want to make before we wrap up this show, dude, when we were punting or Greg the Leg was kicking field goals, I didn't even have to think about it. Greg just went out, and he's such a professional. both those field goals, no problem. Chip, chip. Punts down to the 20, down to the 18, down to the 15. No
Mm-hmm.
return, really, right? Like, we didn't have to think about specials. And we've talked about it in previous shows. It's the punt return by Gibson that makes you appreciate more when you don't have to worry about that, because your punter would have kicked that one in the corner anyways. He would have had to run 50 yards across the field instead of catching it right in the middle of the field, looking across the whole. Gibson knew, right, the two cuts he had to make to get to the edge and get a touchdown.
Wild.
That
Yep.
our kicking and punting situation, they're just professionals.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and talking about cuts that Liz was talking about earlier at the end of Hard Knocks, this is just another chip that goes in Joe Douglas's pile once again, and Salah's pile, because
Yep.
they could have easily cut someone like Gibson, and then he's not your hero, and maybe you lose that game. Maybe Allen gets the ball back, and maybe they kick a field goal or he scores, and we're not talking about this here. It's these moves that matter. That's why they play these preseason games and they have these practices with undrafted rookies, and 6th and 7th round picks get a chance to play because of things just like that. And what if Gibson was a returner and he was just a receiver? He probably doesn't make this team. So guys that could play multiple positions, do different roles on the team, it's very beneficial. And I think, Joe Douglas has built a culture for the Jets of talent. He's now adding that depth, something me and Kevin have spoken about for years now that the Jets have never had. As soon as a player goes down, all of a sudden it's the end of the world. I think for most of the team, that is not the case here. We have a lot of talent on this team. One thing about the offensive line, they need some time and gel together to know their spacing, passing the ball. When you talk about running the ball, I was very impressed for the way that they blocked game one together. And I expect Breece Hall and company to pop a couple 25 plus runs over the course of the season. So I'm really excited about that. And as far as this Cowboys game is concerned, again, I think it's going to be a close game, low scoring. I have the game like 21-17 max, maybe like same thing we saw here, like maybe like 22-16, 21-17, nothing crazy. I don't think this is going to be a shootout by any means. I mean, I dare to say it could even be a 14-10 type of affair, maybe. It could get like that. Remember, the Cowboys only put up, Dak Prescott put up, I think, 140 yards on 23 passing attempts with no touchdowns in that 40 burger they put on the Giants. The Cowboys are going to be looking to run the football, opportune passing, and really working on that defense. And I think the Jets are going to be doing the same thing. So whoever makes that crucial mistake, and I think you could say that always, right? Well, yeah, whoever throws the interceptions or does the turnover is going to win. But I think it's even more so, like Kevin said earlier, our margin for error is a lot smaller now that Aaron is not here. And so I think if we play a clean game, I think our defense is just a little bit better. I think our running back group is just a little bit better. I think our pop factor, like our chance to make a big play on offense or defense, I think we have more talent to do that. The DJ Reed, the Sauce Gardner, the Quinnen Williams, like these types of guys, the Garrett Wilson, the Breece Hall, the Dalvin Cook. We have more guys that I think can pop and make a spectacular play on offense or defense, even more so than Dallas. And so we'll see. Again, special teams, field goals might play a crucial role in this game. Again, I love Greg the Leg in the stadium, not having to deal with the elements. And so I think it's going to be a close game. I will go 14-10 New York Jets. Liz, what's your score before we end with Kevin?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the 22-16.
Okay.
Yep.
Almost identical, Liz. I have us at 21-17. I think I agree with you. Defense is going to keep us in the game. I think we're going to get 2 picks on Dak. They have 2 offensive linemen out. And then Zach Martin just went on the injury report with some groin issues. I'm sure he's going to play, so Jets fans don't get too excited. But I don't think you want to go in with a banged-up offensive line against the Jets' defensive line. I think that will keep Dallas under wraps. Dak's going to try not to make mistakes, and he's going to give us some short fields. And I think that ends up being the difference in the game. And the Jets, to me, cover the 9.5-point spread. I think that's insane. I think
Yeah, that's crazy.
Dallas scoring 9.5 is going to be tough for them. Like
Right.
the fact that they're going to cover 9.5, that's their defense scoring. And we are not the Giants. Like the Giants looked very soft in that game. The
They
Jets
did.
are not going to be soft. This is not
Mhm.
a soft-built team. Becton is not Neil. The Jets are going to come at you. I'm telling you. I hope Dallas fans are watching this.
Mhm.
If you're a Dallas fan, bet on the Jets covering.
You know, I apologize. I don't even want to give them that many. I'm going to go 24-10. I'm going to go 20.
Ooh. Liz
Yeah.
is bold in this episode, and I absolutely love it. Guys, I absolutely appreciate the support with you tuning in. I'm asking for a huge favor. I know there's only 10 live, but many more. We'll see it later, and hopefully they watch to the end. So I've been trying to get Amber Wilson, who's on ESPN, to come on our show and talk. And I've had some dialogue with her. She said she was going to check the show out. So what I want you guys to do is let's boost these numbers up. Let's get this going. Let her know that, you know, we're not some quacks out here just trying to get her on there and ask her some weird questions. Okay. We legit talk about the Jets, and she's a Dolphins fan. So we want to get her on versus Jets versus Dolphins. So take a clip or a screenshot of this, go on Twitter or X or whatever it's called now, and tag Amber Wilson. She's on Instagram. Tag her, send her, do whatever you can and let her know we want her on the show. Help us out. And if she happens to mention that, I'll give away a ticket to a game this year, so you can go watch Zach Wilson for yourself. How about that? So appreciate the support as always. We only grow as far as you guys watch and as far as you guys show a share. So appreciate the support. We'll have JR back soon, so we'll have all the bells and whistles, the intro and stuff that makes us look cool and everything. But until then, I'll see you guys Sunday after the Cowboys game for post-game report. And it should be a little bit better. I was just kind of like in total shock because of the whole Aaron Rodgers thing and the fact that we even won that game. I was like an upside down world. I was just a little all over the place, and I'll have a little bit more energy for you guys after this Cowboys game. I promise. Just root for health. So JETS, Jets. Good night, everyone.